Don't look so shocked, Liana. You'll be fine, my husband murmured, tossing his overnight bag onto the couch like this was all perfectly normal. My stepfather's upstairs. He'll need help with everything, meals, meds, bathing, whatever. I'll be gone for a few days. Don't mess this up. I stared at him, my keys still in my hand, the cold November air clinging to my coat. I had just walked in from a 10-hour Thanksgiving shift at the clinic, dreaming of sleep, warmth, and maybe, if life was generous, 5 minutes of peace. Instead, I was being handed a stranger. A responsibility I never agreed to. A command, not a request. And of course, like always, he didn't wait for a reply. He never did. He just brushed past me, the smell of cologne and arrogance trailing behind him, and headed for the door. Oh, and don't call me unless the house is on fire, he added with a smirk. Family takes care of family. And since you married me, this is your job too. The door slammed. The sound echoed through the house like a verdict. For a few seconds, all I could do was stand there, frozen, exhausted, staring at the abandoned living room. A half-folded blanket. Dirty dishes stacked beside the sink. Shoes kicked under the coffee table. No note explaining his sudden disappearance. No apology. Nothing. Just the faint creaking coming from upstairs. I inhaled slowly, steadying myself. I wasn't surprised, not really. Evan had been slipping further into cruelty for months, cutting comments, silent treatment, dismissive orders masquerading as jokes. But this, leaving me alone on Thanksgiving with a man I barely knew? This was new. I placed my bag down and walked toward the staircase, each step heavier than the last. The hallway light flickered. The air felt cold, untouched. When I reached the guest room door, it was cracked open just enough to reveal a sliver of darkness. I pushed it gently. And there he was, Raymond, my husband's stepfather, sitting in an old rocking chair, the cushions pressed thin from years of use. His eyes were closed, his breathing steady. He didn't look helpless. He didn't look frail. He looked, waiting. Then his voice floated through the dim room, low and startling. Took you long enough. Shall we begin? My pulse jumped. Begin what? Why did he sound like he was expecting me? Why did he sound prepared? Before I could form a sentence, he lifted a wrinkled hand and pointed toward the nightstand. A folded piece of paper sat there, my name written in Evan's handwriting, sharp and impatient. I reached for it, hesitating only once before opening it. Inside were 10 words that made my stomach twist. Gone with my ex. Take care of him. Don't argue. The betrayal stung, but beneath that sting was a spark. A quiet, controlled kind of fire, the kind that only wakes when a woman realizes she's been pushed one time too many. Before we continue, please subscribe to support stories of women reclaiming their power. I folded the note slowly, my fingers tightening around the edges until the paper bent sharply beneath my grip. Evan hadn't even bothered to lie creatively. Gone with my ex. Like it was the most casual thing in the world. Like betraying me, publicly, shamelessly, was just another one of his little errands. But before anger could rise fully, Raymond shifted in the rocking chair, straightening his back with a controlled movement that didn't match the fragile image Evan had painted. The room was dim, but his eyes were sharp, awake, studying me with unsettling patience. You look surprised, he murmured. He didn't tell you I'm not dying? The words hit like a slap. Not dying? I blinked at him, unsure whether I'd misheard. Raymond chuckled, a low, dry sound. He uses me, you know. For sympathy. For manipulation. For excuses. He likes to parade me around like I'm a burden he carries alone. He leaned forward. But I'm not the burden here. His voice softened. He is. I exhaled slowly, stepping back just enough to put space between us. I don't understand, I whispered. Why would he? Because Evan is a coward, Raymond interrupted gently. He runs from responsibility and hides behind others. You. Me. Anyone who will carry the weight he refuses to face. His gaze lowered to his hands. He wanted you here so you wouldn't follow him. So you'd be trapped. The truth settled over me like thick smoke. Of course Evan would run off with his ex. Of course he'd choose the easy route. Of course he'd use me to cover the fallout of his choices. But a question flickered at the edge of my mind. Why did you agree to this? I asked. A long silence stretched between us. Then Raymond sighed. Because I was tired of watching him mistreat people. I wanted to see what you would do when pushed. My breath caught. He planned this? He planned the escape, Raymond corrected. I planned the rest. He reached beside the chair and slid out a folder, thick, worn, edges frayed. When he handed it to me, I hesitated only a second before opening it. And then my heart thudded painfully. Bank statements. Receipts. Messages, transfers, all tied to Evan. All showing money moved secretly. All showing weekends away. All showing lies, patterns, manipulation. He's been draining your joint account for months, Raymond said quietly. Using you to fund his trips, luxury purchases, and, his jaw tightened, his girlfriend. I stared at the papers, my chest tightening with every new page I flipped. The betrayal was deeper than I had imagined. Deeper than I wanted to accept. But beneath the hurt, something else awakened. That spark from before. Brighter now. Sharper. Ready. Raymond watched me carefully. You don't have to stay quiet anymore, he said. Not tonight. Then he leaned back in the chair again, his voice calm, almost expectant. Tell me, Lena, what do you want to do? The answer formed in my mind immediately, clear, cold, steady. I wanted revenge. Not loud. Not messy. But precise. Unforgettable. And for the first time in a long time. I smiled. Raymond's question hung in the air, heavy and deliberate, as if he already knew the answer forming in my chest. I closed the folder slowly, feeling each click of my fingernail against the cardboard spine like a countdown. My heartbeat steadied, not from fear, but from clarity. First, I said quietly, I want him to understand what it feels like to lose control. Raymond nodded once, encouraging me to continue. The house felt different now, not empty but charged, like the walls themselves were waiting for me to move. I walked across the living room, my fingertips grazing the furniture Evan was so proud of. The marble table he bragged about. The leather sofa he claimed he deserved. The decor chosen to impress his rich friends, not to make a home. He thinks I'm weak, I murmured, more to myself than to Raymond. He thinks he can disappear and come back whenever he wants, like I'm some placeholder in his schedule. Raymond's voice softened. He's always underestimated you. I paused. Why? Raymond gave a small, almost sad smile. Because he only values people who praise him. You don't do that. You expect honesty. Accountability. And that terrifies him. I let that sink in. It made sense. Evan always thrived on admiration, on being the center of every conversation, every room, every story. But I had stopped feeding that ego months ago. Maybe even before I realized it. Raymond shifted forward, hands resting on his knees. Lena. I need to tell you something else. I turned to him, bracing myself. Evan didn't go on that trip to relax, he said. He went to meet investors. I blinked. For what? Raymond took a slow breath. A business he wants to launch. One he plans to fund using your assets. He told them you'd never notice. Anger rose like fire in my veins, but for the first time, it didn't burn uncontrollably. It focused. Sharpened. Became strategy. So he planned to drain me financially, I said, voice chillingly even. Emotionally. Publicly. And then walk away? Raymond nodded. Unless he decided to come back and take more. A quiet laugh escaped me. Not from humor, but realization. He really thought I'd just crumble. Slowly, I sat down on the edge of the sofa, spreading the documents across the coffee table. Raymond watched as I arranged them meticulously, every receipt, every transfer, every message in the exact order I wanted. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Preparing," I said. "If Evan wants to play games, fine. But I'm rewriting the rules." I pulled out my phone. "The first thing I'm taking back is control of my accounts." As I spoke, something loosened inside me, like a lock clicking open after years of rust. Raymond leaned back, a proud glint in his eyes. "You're stronger than he ever realized." "No," I corrected, standing tall. "I'm exactly as strong as I always knew I was. I just stopped hiding it." And for the first time since stepping into that silent house, I felt it, power settling into my bones, steady and unmistakable. Evan wanted to leave me behind. But he had no idea. I was already steps ahead of him. The next morning arrived with a gray, muted sky, as if the weather itself sensed the storm forming beneath my calm surface. I woke earlier than usual, not out of anxiety but purpose. Each step I took across the cold floor felt deliberate. Controlled. The version of me that Evan had taken for granted was gone. The woman walking through that house now was someone he had never met. Raymond was already downstairs when I entered the kitchen, leaning over a cup of coffee he hadn't even touched. "Couldn't sleep?" I asked. He shook his head. "I kept thinking about what you're stepping into. Are you prepared for how ugly this could get?" I pulled a glass from the cabinet and filled it with water, my movements slow and steady. "Ugly is fine," I said. "Ugly is honest. Evan's the one who hides behind polished lies." Raymond studied me carefully. "You're not doing this just to get back at him, are you?" I exhaled. "No. I'm doing it because I'm done being treated like I'm invisible." My laptop sat on the dining table where I left it last night, still open to the folder containing every detail of Evan's financial betrayals. I sat down and began sorting through documents again, cross-checking dates, rereading transfer logs, flagging discrepancies. "You're building a case," Raymond murmured. "No," I corrected softly. "I'm building freedom." The word surprised even me. They felt right. True. Real freedom isn't loud. It's quiet. Intentional. Like the steady tapping of my fingers on the keyboard. Like my breathing as I focused on each detail Evan prayed I'd never discover. After an hour, I closed the laptop and picked up my phone. Raymond straightened. "Are you calling him?" "Not yet," I said. "I'm calling the bank." I placed the call, giving calm, professional instructions to freeze certain accounts temporarily due to suspicious activity. Raymond watched in awe as my voice remained even, confident. "Yes," I said to the banker, "I understand the implications." "Do it." When I hung up, Raymond let out a low whistle. "You just cut off his access." I nodded. He cut me out emotionally the day he decided lies were easier than loyalty. This is balance. Raymond hesitated before asking the next question. "And when he finds out?" I looked out the window at the motionless trees, my reflection faint but determined. "He'll come home," I said. Men like Evan always come back when control slips through their fingers. "And when he does?" Raymond asked. I turned to him, expression steady. "I won't be the one waiting." The room settled into silence again, but this time it wasn't the suffocating emptiness I felt when I first walked in 2 days ago. It was anticipation. The shifting of something inevitable. Raymond leaned back. "You've changed." "No," I replied, gathering the scattered papers. "I finally stopped protecting the wrong person." He looked at me with something warm, something protective, but I held up a hand gently. "Raymond. I need you to trust me. Don't interfere." "Not yet." He nodded reluctantly. "Whatever you're planning. I hope he's ready." A slow, controlled breath left my chest. He made his choices. I closed the folder with a sharp, decisive click. Now he'll face mine. By late afternoon, the house felt unnaturally still, like the world was inhaling and waiting for something to break. I sat on the edge of the couch, hands folded, posture steady, eyes focused on the front door. Not with desperation. Not with hope. With certainty. Evan would come home the moment he realized his accounts were frozen. Men like him didn't worry about the emotional collapse they left behind, but financial discomfort? That pulled them back faster than guilt ever could. And just as expected, the doorknob rattled at 6:14 p.m. sharp. A frantic turn. A push. Then he stormed inside like a man discovering fire too late. His eyes landed on me immediately. "Lena, what the hell is going on?" My card was declined. Declined. You know how humiliating that was? He threw his hands in the air as if he were the victim of some cosmic injustice. I remained seated, my expression calm. "Sit down, Evan." He blinked, thrown off by my tone. Usually I softened when he raised his voice. Not today. Today my calmness made him shrink instead of swell. He sat, confusion spreading over his face. "I know about the transfers," I said plainly. "The hidden accounts. The money you siphoned from the house fund. And the lies." Evan swallowed hard. "This is a misunderstanding, stop." My voice cut through his sentence like a blade sliding across glass. "Don't insult me any further." Raymond stepped halfway into the doorway, arms crossed, stance protective but silent. Evan snapped his head toward him. "What is he doing here?" "Helping me see clearly," I replied. "Something you stopped doing when honesty became inconvenient for you." The color drained from Evan's face. "So what now? You want to ruin my life?" I stood slowly, each movement deliberate, grounding. "No, Evan. I want to rebuild mine." I handed him a folder, copies of everything I gathered. Every transfer. Every discrepancy. Every lie. "You're going to sign the separation agreement I drafted. Today. You keep what's yours. I keep what's mine. And we walk away clean." Evan's mouth opened and closed like he was swallowing broken glass. "You can't do this." "I already did." My voice remained soft, steady. "You just didn't notice because you never thought I was capable of moving without your permission." Raymond remained still, watching him with the quiet strength of someone who no longer feared the truth. Evan flipped through the papers, panic rising in waves. "You're serious." "Dead serious," I said. "And Evan, this isn't revenge. This is self-respect arriving late but refusing to leave again." His hands trembled as he finally picked up the pen. The moment the ink touched the paper, something inside me unclenched. A weight I'd carried alone for too long finally slid off my shoulders. Evan looked up, shattered. But I felt nothing. No rage. No joy. Just peace, the kind that blooms when a woman decides her life belongs to her again. Raymond stepped closer. "It's over," he said quietly. "Yes," I breathed. "It is." And for the first time in years, the air around me felt mine. Some women are not looking for chaos, they're looking for closure. And when they stop waiting for permission, they become unstoppable. If this story of strategic calm and reclaimed dignity held your attention, hit that like button right now. My favorite moment was when Evan walked through that door, finally realizing the woman he underestimated had already rewritten the ending. What was your favorite moment? Tell me in the comments below. Don't miss more slow burn, powerful revenge stories like this. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload.